Hi, my name is Mandolin Royal, and today I'm not doing anything too hot and heavy with the flock today, but I do have some thoughts after we had our NPIP testing yesterday. My buddy Jim, he services all of Southern Ohio and a little bit beyond that as needed. And every time he gets out of the car here, he's so excited. And he gives me a lot of pep talks every time I see him. And he tells me that the fleshing and the growth rate is uncommon. And this guy, he handles a lot of birds. Every day he's with a different flock. So when he comes, we nerd out on bird talk. And I like to bring up stuff to him to ask because he's a lot more experienced with poultry than I am. And he's pretty dedicated too. He's got a nice little flock of Javas. And we were talking about what it takes to find the best birds. And we were in agreement on if you hatch 50, you could find 5. If you hatch 100, you could find 10. Following that 10% retention rule of getting down to the nitty-gritty of who actually is the better bird. But some of the stuff I want to talk about today is how to know when you should start releasing birds to other people. And that got us onto the topic of expectations and how out of alignment those expectations between the seller and the buyer could be. And he just had a lady drive like 22 hours from North Dakota to come get Javas from him. And so we were swapping stories on how far people have come for birds. And then we were talking about, well, what's the expectation on what they're going to get after that sort of time commitment, that expense, just the fuel money, hotel stays. You can't drive 22 hours straight. Well, that's way more than a day trip. So how do you know when your birds are worth that? To me, I don't know. It depends. What percentage of the flock are they coming out of? So I categorize all of my pens. And I've got pen 1, pen 2, pen 3, pen 4, pen 5, all the way around the barn. And I do not sell hatching eggs, and I do not sell day-old chicks because the same rate of call that I experience is going to apply to those eggs and chicks. These birds need to grow, and they need to show me what they're made of, and they need to show me what things I need to select against within this season, and also what I might need to be working on the following season. Once I figure out the most common flaw they share, that's the thing I've got to figure out the following year. And I've been at this for a little while. This is my 7th season with the American Bresse, and I'm still working out kinks. It is springtime, which is prime time, and my email is always blowing up with people who ask for eggs or chicks, and if I ship, and how much are they, and all that. And I say I don't sell them. Started stock only as available. And that's because I'm still learning, still figuring out the breeding to get to the best birds that I can make. And it's not worth it to me to take advantage of people with the demand of the birds to go ahead and start putting out inferior stock. I don't feel good about it. It doesn't feel honest. And that's because on the buyer's side, I've been there. I've gotten really, really excited about a breed of birds. I read up on them. I look at the history. I look at what they're known for. I find a source. I bring them in. And to put it bluntly, they suck. More often than not. And it's because the most readily available source is probably not the best source, as it turns out. But now that I've been into these birds for a while and I've been watching them and I'm seeing the percentages, it's kind of like, well, it's kind of a crapshoot no matter what. Somebody could have 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and depending on what all they're hatching from and how consistent that flock is, and then the added variables of if they did a line cross and if they added in new genetics that would skew the results of what they could expect. There's a lot of variables to it. So I've been running a line pure to what I started with, and I've been doing line crosses on the side and incorporating those in, and that has taught me a lot about line breeding, the importance of health and vigor, watching how the traits spread out, and then also when you do those line crosses, the new stuff that can come forward that you didn't know you needed to pay attention to until you see it. So the birds tell me I should probably never offer hatching eggs or day-old chicks unless they come with a disclaimer of the rate of call. Really, buddy? He might disagree with me. A chicken's a chicken is a chicken, right? But when Jim comes in, he handles these birds more than he needs to. All he has to do is swab the throat and get a little blood sample. But I see him going down the keel. I see him feeling the fleshing. I watch what he's doing, and I see the little facial expressions that he does. He says a couple of them are too fat, and I would agree. And so far for the last 4 years, he's been asking, why don't you show these yet? Well, I don't have a good answer for that. I really don't. So at some point, I'm going to have to consider taking some of these up to Ohio Nationals or the Dayton Fancy Feather Show. Like, look at that boy and how he's standing right there. Look at the length of the back, the balance of the body. He's got width, he's got fleshing. He's not bad looking, but his legs could be a darker blue, his comb could be smaller, his tail could be fuller. I can nitpick through this bird and talk myself right out of taking him anywhere. That's the way of it. I'm as hard on my birds as I am on myself. One of the things I asked him about when Jim was here was, what do you think of these wings? Like if you see back there, not his right side, but his left side, but hers, where they don't close up tight. And he said, you want to watch it and see what happens through the subsequent molts, but it could be tied in with growth rate. Because when you start pushing growth rate, it changes how the feathers can lay over what's going on with the body. And then I need to be patient. And I was like, well, what about when one wing is good and the other's not? Like on that guy. He said, well, just watch it and see. Just don't neglect that utility that you have going on here. And he reiterated the importance of useful poultry. So we had a pretty good discussion while he was here. And then while he was here, I showed him my sorting method. He had some questions about that. He's like, I see you have a lot that you're hatching from right now. And I was like, well, I also sort the eggs for size, color, and shape. So by the time I pull all the eggs from the pens, I really don't have that many left to actually hatch from. But also, as the chicks come up to 4 to 6 weeks old, I sort them out. In this pen, these birds have already designated as dinner birds. So there's 5 in there that I'm gonna grow out for the freezer. The second pen here, these are birds I'm keeping for myself to grow out further to see how they are. It's a pretty good looking group right here. And then the third pen are the birds I feel comfortable with releasing. And they're going to go to somebody on the ever-growing wait list. And there's more in here this season than in seasons past. As if the breeding is starting to catch up with better results, which I have been working and working and working towards. Because I couldn't do that prior and feel good about it based on the results that I was seeing. Because it's really important to me. If you are expecting a meaty, fast-growing bird, then every bird in that batch needs to be doing that. Right? It's what you expect. And sometimes if you get some birds and you follow my advice of watching them grow and sorting them out and getting weights, sometimes it's a different result. Sometimes it's better and sometimes it's a lot worse. And I'm not going to name any names or do anything like that, but I do want to let you know, don't rush your acquisition. If you don't have these birds yet and you're really trying to get some, be careful and figure out your flock goals. And then look for someone who is growing them to those flock goals. Otherwise, you're going to have to do the same thing I did, which is spend 3 seasons to get them consistently meaty. And then spend another 3 seasons working on their physical attributes and how they breed forward, calling out any flaws you see within them and working them towards the breed standard or just a better table result or both. I'm trying to do both. And that's why my rate of call is so high, is because I'm asking a lot of these birds. They say to only breed for one thing each season. And I'm like, well, I have all these pens. Why can't I breed for 6 different things within a season and structure my pens for those results? So that works too. That's what I've been doing. And I like where they're going, but I really don't feel like they're there yet. Yeah, we get meat and eggs, but I still have work to do. But I'm pretty excited about this season. I'm probably going to hatch a little more than I have in the past. And that's alright. We've added a 3rd dog. We have family, we have friends. They all eat chicken. So I can have whatever call rate I need to have to get down to what I need for next year. And then still have some left over to share and get some other people going. And that's to get them started with the birds that meet their expectations. Because I'm not letting anything inferior leave this farm. I can't. It doesn't sit well. I can't go, yeah, this is an American Bresse, but then it's got some goofy fault or a flaw. And heaven help me if it's not meaty. I am known for meaty birds. I've got to keep that going. I can't try to push for quantity and lose that. I can't lose what they're doing. So that's just some of the thoughts I had while I was out here doing the chores and reflecting on the visit with Jim yesterday. It's always good to see him. And I'll probably see him at the Ohio National Show, but I'm probably not going to bring birds. I mean, maybe. We'll see what grows out from what I have growing now. At some point, I'm going to have to do that. We'll see. More on this later.